for now, I'm going to be talking about musical adaptations. Now, there are tons and tons and tons of films planned based on musicals. Just to give you a little synopsis, we've got Young Frankenstein, West Side Story, everybody's talking about Jamie, Mean Girls, The Little Mermaid. Can we just stop for a second and just all agree, all stand and be counted and hold our hands up and go, you know what, the problem with musicals is they're rubbish. Yep, I said it. Even Ralph Fiennes is in talks to resurrect Matilda already. I mean, we don't need to resurrect Matilda, the musical, as a movie. The musical is based on a movie and a book. You know, the movie that we've got, was it, what was her name, Mara? Oh, Van Connor, what was her name?
Mara Wilson.
Mara Wilson, that was it. Mara Wilson. I mean, we don't need a Matilda musical, do we?
Well, I don't know. The musical itself seems to have sprung on a life entirely separated from the movie. There's a generation of fans who know this is a musical now, rather than a movie or a book. I would argue the movie itself is perfect. It's flawless. It's a timeless thing because it has that style and it doesn't seem to exist in any kind of a present day. So, yeah, there is no need to remake that movie or anything. But in terms of adapting the stage musical, there is an argument. Whether or not you should is a separate one.
I just hate musicals, Van.
I can't possibly begin to disagree with you. I'm not the biggest fan of them. And a month out from the release of the god-awful Cats, I don't think anyone's really clamouring for another one anytime soon.
And, well, you say that, but we've got a few on the way, haven't we?
We have. I mean, later this year, we've got Guys and Dolls. But again, let's be honest, same sort of problem as Cats. Other than the old folks and musical theatre nerds, who really cares?
Is West Side... When's West Side Story? Is that this year as well, or is that still a way off?
That is later this year with Ansel Elgort and Spielberg directing. It's alleged to be one of Spielberg's final films.
What? One of his final films?
Yes, Spielberg is on the way out and has named West Side Story as one of his swan song efforts.
And why do we do it? I mean, it's, you know, we talk about, you know, we bemoan kind of films that are based on franchises too much. We moan about sequels, but this again is just another lazy way of kind of piggybacking a previous success, isn't it?
Well, you look at the state of musicals in film in the 21st century, and it is very interesting that for the noughties, the three biggest ones were what I would call branded musicals. They're adaptations of, you know, popular stage musicals. And then for this past decade, the biggest musicals were originals. So in the noughties, you had Dreamgirls, you had Chicago, you had Mamma Mia. In the past decade, the two biggest musicals were really kind of the only musicals, and they were Greatest Showman and La La Land. La La Land was the first completely original musical for more than 20 years.
I mean, but La La Land, it's not really... I mean, The Greatest Showman and La La Land, they're not really musicals, though, are they? They were I don't know, they just felt kind of different. They didn't, you know, take something like West Side Story. It feels, I don't know, maybe that's because they were all born in theatre. Is there a difference? I mean, I guess that's the fundamental difference, isn't it? It's taking something that was written and conceived to be told in 3D, kind of in real life on a stage in a theatre in front of a relatively small audience of a couple of hundred, compared to kind of like, right, how do we make West Side Story for reals? And I don't think it translates particularly well.
Again, going back to the Cats example, you hit the nail on the head there. The idea that if something is originally conceived and designed to be done on the stage, it has to be done entirely differently to work on a cinematic canvas. Whereas if you've got something that has been conceived as a musical for cinema, as Greatest Showman and La La Land do, they feel more naturalistic, they feel more inherently cinematic. You look at something like Cats, where they simply couldn't be bothered and just thought, we'll just do the stage musical in front of a green screen and not bother to remove Judi Dench's hand. Nobody will notice. And, well, the results kind of speak for themselves.
I mean, apart from it was Grease. Was that originally a musical, or was that a movie first? A movie musical?
I believe Grease was a stage musical first, wasn't it? Because I think John Travolta had played it on stage, and I think Richard Gere had as well, and then there was the movie adaptation, and yeah, I believe that was a stage musical to begin with.
I mean, is there anything to look forward to? Is there light at the end of this musical tunnel? I mean, I know that plenty of people do enjoy them because, you know, they seem to keep making them, but has there been a really successful... I mean, Greatest Showman aside, commercially, they've not really done a massive amount, have they?
They've not. I literally have just asked this question of friends of mine. I asked, have there been any branded musicals in the 21st century that did make money commercially, but also prove critical successes? Now, the three, obviously, that prove the exception to the rule are, of course, Chicago, Mamma Mia, and Dreamgirls. Dreamgirls obviously won an Oscar. Chicago won an Oscar. Mamma Mia won an Oscar. But again, you look at other films. I mean, do you know anyone who saw the film version of Rent? Because I don't.
No, I don't. Is that the Boy George? No, that Boy George one is Taboo, isn't it?
Oh no, Rent was the Broadway HIV stage actors musical. But then again, you look at other musicals doing the rounds. I mean, this one in particular, the case of Matilda. The thing that struck me as interesting with that is that Ralph Fiennes is playing Mrs. Trumbull. They've not gender flipped it. He's playing Mrs. Trunchbull, who I believe is Pam Ferris in the '97 film.
That's right, yeah, classic.
Exactly. But the thing that leaps to my mind,
maybe want some chocolate cake now.
You Boris Bogtrotter, you. But the thing that leaps to my mind when you hear that is, well, isn't that what Travolta did in Hairspray? Does anybody remember Hairspray? Do you actually know any fans of the film adaptation of Hairspray? Because other than the fact that Zac Efron was in it, I can't remember a thing about it.
Yeah, now you've mentioned it. I remember John Travolta's kind of frightening picture, yeah. Well,
he looks scary in reality still.
Yeah, he doesn't. Well, he's all right now, shaved his head. Listen, Van, thank you very much, buddy. Not much to look forward to, but we're going to have to suffer through many more.